Have you ever stared at a medical bill, feeling like you needed some kind of secret code book just to figure out all those letters and numbers?
Oh, absolutely. It happens all the time.
Maybe you've seen something like CO45 and just, blinked, tossed it in the too complicated pile.
Yeah, that sounds familiar for a lot of people.
Well, you are definitely not alone. So today we're taking a close look at one of the most common and really important claim adjustment reason codes, CO45.
It really is common.
Our mission. To give you the shortcut, basically, to understanding this vital piece of your healthcare financial puzzle, make sure you're well informed without getting totally bogged down in jargon.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's unpack this code that can really protect your wallet.
Absolutely. And what we're discussing today, it's drawn from some really comprehensive insights in our source, Understanding CO45, medical billing adjustments. It really helps demystify this often confusing code.
Great. So let's start with the absolute basics then. What exactly is CO45? The CO part stands for Contractual Obligation, which I guess is a pretty big clue right there.
It is a very big clue.
And the code 45. That means charge exceeds fee schedule maximum allowable or contracted legislated fee arrangement. Bit of a mouthful.
It is a bit technical, but what's fascinating here is that code immediately tells you something really crucial about your financial responsibility.
Okay.
Because it's labeled a contractual obligation, the provider, they cannot legally bill you, the patient, for this adjusted amount. It means the amount the provider originally billed was just, well, more than what the insurance payer allows, based on their fee schedule or maybe a pre-agreed contract they have.
Right. So it's like a price cap agreed between the doctor or hospital and the insurance company.
Exactly. That's a good way to put it.
That seems crystal clear. So it's a solid protection for the patient. But, okay, let me play devil's advocate for a sec. If it's contractual and the provider knows this is the agreed rate, why would they even bill higher in the first place? Doesn't that just, create extra paperwork for their own billing team?
That's a really great question, actually. And it gets into the operational side of medical billing.
Yeah.
It sounds counterintuitive, right?
Yeah, well.
But providers often bill their full undiscounted rate, sometimes called the charge master rate, kind of across the board. It's often standard practice.
Why, though?
Well, it helps them manage the complexity. Think about it. They deal with hundreds of different insurance plans, each with potentially different contracts and fee schedules.
Ah, okay. So it's simpler administratively to start high.
In a way, yes. Billing the full charge ensures they have a consistent starting point, and then the specific payer adjustments, like CO45, bring the amount down to whatever is contracted for that specific plan. It ensures they capture the maximum allowable for each agreement.
Okay, that makes more sense now. It's about managing variability.
Precisely. And sometimes it can also serve as a starting point if they're dealing with, say, out-of-network situations or negotiations. But for in-network, they expect adjustments like CO45.
Got it. Okay, let's make this super concrete. We've got an example from our source material. Let's say a provider bills $200 for some service.
Okay.
But your insurance payer's allowed amount, based on their agreement with that provider, is only $120.
Right, the contracted rate.
So the payer sends a payment, maybe based on that $120. That leaves an $80 difference between the billed charge and the allowed amount.
Mm-hmm.
$80.
Now, here's where it gets really interesting, that $80 difference. That shows up as the CO45 adjustment.
That's it.
It's contractually adjusted off, wiped away, essentially.
Yeah.
And crucially, it is not collectible from you, the patient. That $80 is not your problem.
Exactly. It's like finding, I don't know, a hidden discount on your bill. Money you thought you might owe, but actually don't. It's a key protection built into the system for you. That's huge. So beyond that operational reason of billing high first, are there other common reasons why we might see a CO45 adjustment pop up?
Yeah, there are a few other scenarios. Sometimes it happens if the provider is actually out of network. The payer might still pay something, but they'll limit it based on what's called usual, customary, and reasonable, or UCR rates, leading to a CO45 adjustment for the excess.
Okay.
Other times, honestly, it could just be a simple error. Maybe an incorrect charge amount was keyed in on the claim form. That happens.
Human error, sure.
We also see it with duplicate billing sometimes, or when procedures are unbundled.
Unbundled, what's that?
That's when maybe a provider bills separately for several small things that the insurance company considers part of one single larger procedure. The payer might then bundle them back together and reduce the total payment to the allowed amount for the main procedure, using CO45 for the difference.
Ah, I see.
And it can even show up if a claim includes non-covered services that were billed alongside covered ones. The adjustment might apply to the covered portion exceeding the fee schedule.
Wow, okay. So lots of potential reasons.
Right.
But let's bring it back to the listener. What does this all mean for you when you actually see CO45 printed on your explanation benefits or your bill? How should you react?
Right, the actionable part. Well, the key insights are really crucial here. First off, remember, CO45 is not an actual denial of the service itself.
Okay, not a denial.
No. It's simply a reduction in the charged amount because of that contract between the provider and the payer. Second, and this is the most critical point, you should never be billed for these CO45 adjustments.
Never?
Never. If you get a bill from a provider asking you to pay an amount specifically labeled as a CO45 adjustment, that is a major red flag.
Big red flag. What should you do?
Question it immediately. Call the provider's billing office. Call your insurance company. That amount is generally the provider's responsibility to write off, not yours.
Good to know.
Now, it's also important to remember, while the CO45 portion is adjusted off and isn't your problem, the remaining allowed amount, that $120 in our example, might still include your responsibility.
Ah, like your deductible or co-insurance?
Exactly. That part you do owe. It might show up under a different code, often something like PR1, which stands for Patient Responsibility Deductible.
Okay, so CO45 wipes out the charge above the allowed amount, but you might still owe part of the allowed amount.
Precisely. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, understanding this distinction really empowers you to look at your bills much more effectively. You can see what's just an adjustment between the provider and payer and what part is actually assigned to you.
That makes so much sense. So really, at its core, CO45 is basically an internal accounting adjustment. It's between your doctor or hospital and your insurance company, protecting you from those charges that go above their agreed-upon rates.
That's the essence of it.
It's a code that, once you understand it, can bring a whole lot of clarity, actually, to those often confusing medical statements. Turns potential frustration into, hopefully, a bit more financial peace of mind.
Absolutely. And maybe that leaves you with something to think about.
Mm-hmm.
Consider this. How can knowing about codes like CO45, understanding what they mean for you, how can that transform your entire approach when you look at healthcare bills?
Mm-hmm.
How can it shift you from feeling confused or maybe even overwhelmed to feeling genuinely confident when you receive that statement in the mail? It's really about empowering yourself with knowledge to navigate the whole system more effectively.